me, a Superman.
Sorry, that one tipped my tickle box a little bit.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Wait till they get a load of me.
And welcome to another episode of the Containment Unit. I'm Tony.
I'm Lindsay.
And for today's episode, we are doing another movie review. Finally, it is out. I was so excited. Honestly, I think I was more excited for this than The Last Jedi.
Really?
Next month.
Really?
I think once we get closer to The Last Jedi, I'll start getting really hyped up for it. But I've been chomping at the bit. I've been fighting the urge to read the spoilers for Justice League.
Yeah.
Got a chance to see Justice League. I went in a little timid because it's getting shit on in movie reviews. You know, Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, it's only 40%. Rotten Tomatoes can kiss my pucker.
FYI, spoiler alert.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. You have been warned.
Just like our review of Kingsman, this is going to be spoiler-filled start to finish.
And that's because we don't know how to geek out about a movie without talking about every aspect of it.
Exactly. And I geeked out royally.
Oh my god, you so
movie.
geeked out royally.
I was giggling most of the film. I knew it's just like the credits are here. I'm going to see everyone on screen. And I loved Batman versus Superman.
Right.
So a little bit of pretense. Leading into this, we've got Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman. Of those, only one of them received pretty good critical acclaim. Wonder Woman.
Pretty good.
Phenomenal. I mean, they're doing an Oscar campaign for it now. They're taking full page ads out for Best Picture, Best Actress, all that. And I thought Wonder Woman was phenomenal. I enjoyed all four of those movies. Batman versus Superman and Wonder Woman kind of on par for me for which one I enjoyed more.
Really, Man of Steel is my favorite of them.
And I think that was such a visually and emotionally beautiful film. A lot of people crapped on it saying, that's not my Superman. Henry Cavill's not my Superman. Oh, quit your bitching. 70 years of Superman lore. Okay, which Superman is your Superman? Mullet Superman? George Reeves Superman?
He had a mullet?
Yeah, when he came back from the dead after the death of Superman, he had like a 90s rock band mullet. He looked like a fill-in drummer for Aerosmith.
I'm so happy they didn't try to pull that.
Oh, I know. I know. But, he at one time he was pure energy. He lost his powers one time and had to get around with a grappling hook. He totally left Earth and went to New Krypton and joined the military under Zod. So which version of Superman were you hoping for with this?
Isn't there another version where he goes back in time, goes to Krypton before it's destroyed and actually meets his parents and falls in love with somebody?
Quite possibly. I mean, again, 70 years of Superman lore. They've done Superman as a communist in Russia with Superman Red Sun.
Right.
A lot of people talk about All-Star Superman, where Superman dies, where he gets radiation poisoning, as like the greatest Superman story of all time. And people say, that needs to be the Superman movie we get. Please no. I honestly didn't care for that story, but again, personal preference. Right. And I'm not getting on to people if they just didn't care for the movie.
Right.
I get it. Personal taste. Tastes vary from person to person. Right. But the criticisms against Superman, just ridiculous. When Superman kills Zod, Superman doesn't kill. Okay, first and foremost, now you have a reason why. And that is exactly why they did it. They said that's why they did it.
Yeah.
Now you see Superman who will not kill, even though people say he killed that guy in Batman versus Superman when he he saves
Oh, yeah,
Lois
yeah, yeah.
and slams him through the walls.
Yeah, up in the desert.
Yeah, they've said that he did not kill him. But now we have a reason why, because you see how he reacted to the death of Zod.
Right.
So I like this story that we're getting. I think Henry Cavill has been a terrific Superman.
Yeah.
Second only to Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Which is still a tall order.
I just hope that Henry Cavill doesn't end up with the ego that Christopher Reeve got during like the fourth Superman.
Yeah, and I don't think so. I think it's a different time, and I think it's a different attitude, and they'll be sure to have somebody ground his ass down.
Yeah,
if
right.
needs be.
Right.
But we had Batman versus Superman, and I fully get the criticisms people had about Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I didn't like Jesse Eisenberg. I'm still holding out hope. Or let me backtrack. I was still holding out hope that he was going to be revealed to be the son of the Lex Luthor.
Right, Alexander Luthor.
Yeah, because he even said, no, my dad is the Lex in front of LexCorp. He named the company after himself.
Yeah.
Because he was too maniacal. He was too crazed. Lex Luthor's not crazed.
Right.
And
he's brilliant.
He's brilliant,
Yeah.
yes. And I like when he's played as just the smartest guy in the world, the guy who could trick the country into electing him president.
Right. He's that guy that walks into a room and knows he's the smartest person in there.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I say I was holding out hope because we'll get to it in a minute. There's something in Justice League that pretty much cements Jesse Eisenberg as the
Lex Luthor. Yeah.
But again,
what we're talking about, the thing that tells you this is the Lex Luthor, it gives you hope that he can pull it off.
Exactly. And we will definitely cover this here in a bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Right.
But
people still use that phrase.
We're pretty old-fashioned with some of our phrases, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, Batman vs. Superman just got slammed. People were complaining about Doomsday. They were complaining about, they've already killed Superman.
Yeah.
And it's like... it was damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
No matter what they did, they were going to get slammed. And then...
Well, because people want to see what's in the comics. They want to see what they know happens in the comics. And what is one of the most iconic story arcs in Superman lore.
Oh, it is one of the most... I think it is the most iconic storyline in the history of comic books.
And it's the death of Superman. So how do you kick off the introduction of the Justice League?
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, and I loved the imagery.
Yes.
I loved the imagery of it. The light coming down on his body with Lois cradling him. That was it was straight out of the comics.
Yeah.
It was beautifully done.
Yeah, it was very well done. And that whole movie, I felt, was the perfect follow-up to Man of Steel, because people complained about the catastrophic damage in Man of Steel. And what did I tell all of our friends and everybody that was complaining? Just watch. They're going to use this as a reason for Batman to distrust Superman.
Right.
And the movie opens with Batman, Bruce Wayne in Metropolis, seeing the damage.
Yeah. Thing is, though, right now, we're like giving a review of Batman versus Superman.
We are. This is just a lead up.
Yeah.
Because we are definitely in the minority that we enjoyed every film that led up. And we've talked about Suicide Squad in the past. We haven't released the episode, but that was in our underappreciated movies test episode. But still, Suicide Squad, not a perfect film.
No, not by any means.
I would say it's good, not great.
The plot is crap.
But the film, especially the extended cut, is just so much fun.
I enjoy the chemistry between the actors. I enjoy watching the interactions with the characters.
Yes, exactly. And especially Harley Quinn and Deadshot
and
El Diablo and that whole scene in the bar. Again, it was all about the characters. This was very much a character-driven story. And I even loved Jared Leto as Joker.
So did I.
And then Wonder Woman came out and was just phenomenal. So now we're at Justice League.
Right.
And going into it, it's already getting great reviews from fans, crap reviews from critics.
Right.
And all this has done is strengthen my belief that critics are having an automatic bias against DC. Now, whether or not they're being paid off, that there's conspiracy theories out there.
Right.
One critic who's very pro DC actually came out and said that he logged into his account on Rotten Tomatoes, a professional critic, to post his review, and when he logged in, his review was already posted under his name. He didn't write it,
right?
But it was there was already a review and a rating negative posted under his name. And then people were comparing reviews from Marvel films and DC films where the critic gave it the same rating, but Rotten Tomatoes took the rating for Marvel and said that was a positive rating, and then took the rating for the DC film and said, no, that's a negative rating.
Yeah.
Even though they were the exact same rating from the exact same critic.
Yeah.
So I think there's a definite bias clearly going on here.
Right.
So going into it, what were your feelings about seeing Justice League on the big screen?
Like, do you mean like the movie in general, or just my excitement pre?
All of it.
All of it.
Just
Well, I have to say that nowadays going into movies, I don't have too much by way of excitement because there's so much clash going on between, like you're talking about, between critics and between fans, and fans telling you that you're wrong to like a movie or you're wrong to not like a movie, and so much by way of geek shaming within geek culture that I'm just kind of like, you know, whatever, I want to see the movie, I'm going to go see it. But
like the manager of the comic book store in Phoenix who told me that I was wrong for liking Batman versus Superman and Suicide Squad.
Right, yeah. And so I don't have much excitement by way of going into movies anymore. I just kind of go in with the kind of, because you really can't, you know, before you used to be able to trust a critic's point of view. And, you know, if you followed a critic who you knew had a similar taste in movies as you, you'd be like, oh yeah, well they liked it, I'll probably like it too, so I'll give it a shot. But nowadays you can't do that anymore because there's so much bias, so much payoff that I just kind of like, I don't know, whatever. I'll go check it out, see what it's like, you know. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I still say Man of Steel is my favorite of them. There's a feel to Man of Steel with the music, and there's a heart in it that I don't feel like the others have recaptured. But this was still very enjoyable. You still saw some of that heart. Like there's a moment where Bruce pisses off Diana.
Yes.
And you see her face just go stony, and then she hits him.
I think
and
even
he flies
the audience even went, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, and I mean, and that was a great, when you see, because since you've already seen Wonder Woman, you know what the context is there, what the nerve that he hit, and the fact that he even went there.
Well, we've already given a spoiler warning, and we're going to get more into the plot of the film, but basically,
well, the only reason why I didn't say it is because, you know, if we were going to work forward.
Okay. Well,
you know.
I mean, we can just say that he makes a crack about Steve Trevor.
Right.
He makes a crack about her boyfriend that sacrificed himself at the end of Wonder Woman.
Right, and she gets pissed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even Cyborg calls him out on it.
Right.
I was looking this up while you were busy being an asshole.
He was funny.
Yes.
I enjoyed Cyborg. There were moments where definitely I thought the CG was a bit lacking.
And I wanted, and we'll get to that here in a second, because I wanted to talk about the CG of it. For me,
the CG elephant in the room.
Yeah, very big CG elephant in this room. For me, I was very excited going in because when they first announced Ben Affleck as Batman,
yeah.
I wrote an article for the radio stations I work for. Grab your pitchforks. Ben Affleck is Batman.
Yeah.
And then people pointed out to me, you know, well, why do you dislike Ben Affleck? And I named off the movies, and they're like, oh, you're naming off movies from 10 years ago. What about his current work? And I went, oh, you're right. Mm-hmm. And then we saw it, and holy crap.
It's like, oh my gosh, he can do things.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still a Keaton fan. I still got that soft spot for Keaton.
You're a traditionalist.
I'm a traditionalist. But I honestly think Ben Affleck outdid Christian Bale as Batman
I can kind of see that, but at the same time, Nolan is an executive producer of these ones.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, they're different Batmans.
They are. This is more comic faithful.
It is more comic faithful, whereas the Christian Bale Batmans, they straight up said that there was not going to be any magic and meta, and
it was more reality.
Yeah, more reality based. And so and also even look at the cinematography is completely different.
Yes, that was an artistic Batman. This is pulling Batman right out of the pages of the comic.
Right.
And I think
it's more bright colored. Yeah.
Well, even the darkness is still artistic in this. And this is very much, for me, kind of like the Kevin Conroy Batman from the animated series.
Okay.
And so I feel like this is a very faithful adaptation. So I was really excited going into this because I loved Henry Cavill, loved Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck was amazing. And then we're seeing things in the trailers for The Flash and Cyborg. The one I was hesitant on, Aquaman.
Yeah.
Just because it's like Jason Momoa?
Yeah. Well, because he didn't fit anything like what you would
expect Aquaman to be.
Exactly, but they did a wonderful job of taking perceptions of Aquaman and just creating this character around him.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is when you think about Aquaman and what Aquaman can be, because really for decades Aquaman has been a Ken doll. He's just this all-American white boy with blonde hair. And then so you're like, oh, we're going to get a Polynesian dude. I think he's Hawaiian. But Jason Momoa, and I'm like, Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones? Okay.
Yeah, he was born in Honolulu.
Yeah, so let's see how this goes. And then the trailer started coming out, and I'm thinking, oh, damn. They're giving us an Aquaman with attitude.
Yeah.
I kind of like this.
Sorry, just bringing up Aquaman, it makes me think of one of my favorite parts. Well, like a funny part. Maybe not one of my favorites, I don't know. In it, where he just starts going off, Aquaman just starts going off, and he's like, we're all gonna die. And then he just...
No, let's hold off on that one. Please, let's hold on that one.
You want to have that moment?
Yeah, we're gonna have that moment.
But one of my favorites... performances actually was Ezra Miller as Barry Allen,
and that's what we heard going into it, that he was going to be a scene stealer. And this is a question I wanted to pose to you on mic, and I purposely didn't ask you this because I didn't want you to.
You didn't ask me anytime after the movie.
Yeah, anytime after the movie, because you're a fan of the TV show Flash.
I am. Yeah, that's my favorite of the CW shows.
What was your take on Ezra Miller's Flash versus the CW Flash?
I was actually thinking about that earlier, and because I expected you to ask, or I at least expected the subject to come up.
Oh yeah.
And I know I say this a lot whenever talking about comparing and contrasting and everything, but I liked them both because they're different takes on it. Barry on the CW show is he's calmer. He's not quite as high strung.
And he's confident.
Yeah, and he is confident. But I don't think he still had a confidence when he started out, but not nearly as much as he has now on the show, because he's had time to, this is several years in, he's had time to learn and grow, and he's the fastest he's ever been. He's already faced off against Zoom and Reverse Flash and, stuff like that. And he's spent months in the Speed Force and all that stuff, which they briefly talked about the Speed Force for just like a second.
Very briefly
very
in his
briefly.
Introduction.
Mm-hmm. And they talk about his need to eat and everything. So he's like shoving pizza in his mouth while he's talking.
Kept that in.
Me too. Well, it makes sense, you know. But as Ezra Miller's Flash, he's very nervous. He's very ticky. You find out in the movie that he moves around constantly, and I don't mean like Flash moves around, like his base of operation. He moves from one place to the other constantly and stays off the grid. And you see his place, you see all the screens he has up in his place, and you're like, how the hell does he stay off the grid with all of those screens? So you see the fact that he's smart, but they never really delve into it. He's not able to talk, and this was the thing that I didn't like. He's not able to talk about the math and the physics of everything with like Cyborg, and Bruce is very intelligent too. Yes. He's not able to talk about the math and the physics of stuff with them the way Barry can in the TV show. And considering the fact that he's trying to get on as a CSI and everything, and studying and trying to learn this stuff and everything, you would think that
maybe they'll get into that with Flashpoint, with the movie that they're going to do just for.
Right, just for Flash. I hope so, because I really don't feel like they really showed his intelligence, and maybe that was just them emphasizing his lack of confidence.
Yes, because this is very much Flash, like year one.
Right, yeah.
Where he has no confidence in his abilities. He has no confidence in his ability to interact with people.
Yeah.
And we even saw that in the early trailer, the I need friends line. Mm-hmm. And I almost got almost like an autistic impression at times.
No, I wouldn't say autistic.
I mean,
because
for lack of a better term.
Well, because, you see he's able to make eye contact.
Yeah.
He's,
He just can't relate to people. Like, his whole thing
he's socially awkward.
Very socially awkward. And, like, his first interaction with Bruce
Diana.
Wayne... his first interaction with Bruce Wayne, he tells him that he doesn't understand things like brunch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, when he meets Diana, and it's just, he's very much the comic relief of the film.
That part was so funny, though, because Bruce introduces him and is like, Barry, this is Diana. And he shakes her hand, and he goes, hi, Barry, I'm Diana. Wait, no, that's not right.
So, let's get to the film. It opens with a scene that was very clearly a Joss Whedon reshoot.
And our two listeners are going, finally, they're getting to the movie.
And as everybody probably already knows, Zack Snyder's daughter passed away. He was not done with the film. Right. So they brought in Joss Whedon to rewrite a few things. There were rumors that the first cut of the Zack Snyder version was entirely unwatchable.
Yeah.
So they brought in Joss Whedon, and I went through the roof because Joss Whedon...
Excitedly through the roof.
Yes, so excited because Joss Whedon knows ensembles, he knows comic book movies, and he was brought in to rewrite a few scenes and reshoot some scenes.
And lighten it up a bit. There were complaints that Batman vs. Superman was too dark.
Which I get, but I liked.
I liked it, yeah.
And just for... information's sake, Joss Whedon is not given a directing credit in this.
Right.
I didn't look at the end of credits to see if he was listed as like assistant director or something like that. But in the opening credits, Zack Snyder is the only one listed as director, but Joss Whedon is given writing credits.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it opens with a scene that I felt like Joss Whedon wrote just to shut up the people who were saying, that's not my Superman. My Superman saves people. Because here we have Henry Cavill's Superman helping the police and then turning around and giving an interview to kids
who were trying to do like a little podcast or something, yeah.
And you can tell it's a Joss Whedon scene because Henry Cavill's lip looks so weird. So Henry Cavill had to come back from shooting the new Mission Impossible film where he's got a full-on 70s porn stash.
Right.
And he could not shave the mustache, so they had to go in and post and CGI out his mustache.
Yeah.
And you can tell every single scene where they had to do it.
Yeah.
And
I mentioned it to my mom, and my mom even said that Greg noticed it. And when it comes to movies, he just goes for the enjoyment of it. He's not going to pay much attention.
He's not analytical about it.
No, he's not analytical about it at all. Yet he's sitting there going, there's something weird about his lip.
And everybody's crapping on it. DC can't afford good CGI. Holy crap.
BS.
How many Marvel films have they pulled this? Peggy Carter.
Her mouth was horrible.
In Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Yeah, when they aged her up. You could tell. How many times
the entire time I'm watching that scene when she's in bed and is showcasing her Alzheimer's and everything, I'm sitting there going, did they CG her mouth? There's something not right about her mouth, and it was driving me crazy.
Yes, because it's that uncanny valley. And I'm not saying that it's not present here in Justice League, but
there's just no room to complain about it.
Exactly. You cannot complain about this and then defend the CGI in Marvel films.
Right.
Because in Ant-Man, they did the de-aging on Michael Douglas. Looked the same. Iron Man, Civil War with Tony Stark. They de-aged him for that opening scene where it's recreating him talking to his parents.
Right.
Same thing. Looks so awkward.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They de-aged Kurt Russell and stuck his face on another actor.
Yeah.
It's all the same stuff and looks just as weird.
Yeah.
So if you're going to crap on this, you got to crap on that too.
The only reason why I'll say that it looked better for Civil War and Guardians 2 is because it was the whole face. So you didn't have that awkwardness around the mouth, just that one bit.
Little piece.
Yeah. So whereas majority of Peggy Carter in Winter Soldier, it's makeup, and then I guess to make her mouth
more sunken
or something. I don't know, but the CG was mainly around the mouth, and it just looked horrible.
And this is an entire movie thing. There are scenes where it's perfectly fine, and then the next scene, whether it be a flashback or when Superman comes back, for crying out loud, it's not a spoiler, he's on the poster. You can tell the scenes where they had to CG Henry Cavill's face.
Yeah.
So, really, it just...
the whole time you're going, this must be a Whedon scene because it's a reshoot.
Exactly.
You can tell by looking at Henry Cavill's mouth.
And so they open with just kind of a brief look at every member of the League. You've got the Flash visiting his dad in prison.
Right.
You've got Cyborg kind of living and hiding in his dad's apartment. They show Aquaman in the scene that we've seen in the trailers for a year now, where Bruce goes to find him and says, Arthur Curry, I hear you talk to fish. That whole scene. But we really got some good background scenes, and it really just it gave an origin for every member of the team without feeling like an extraneous origin story.
Without having to really delve into it like that. There's this one scene where Barry and Aquaman is Arthur, right? Yeah. I get Arthur and Victor mixed up. So where Barry and Arthur are no, it's Victor. It's Victor, isn't it? It's not Aquaman. It's
Cyborg.
It was Cyborg. So Victor, who was digging the grave with Barry. That's the scene I'm thinking of. And they're grave robbing Superman's grave,
which we're bouncing around. We're
sorry, this is completely non-linear.
Yeah.
But so they're grave robbing Superman's grave. And Barry is going, I could do this really fast if I wanted to, but
it just feels weird to do this.
Yeah,
they're digging up Superman's body,
right? And then Barry's saying, no. Victor says to Barry, "So you were struck by lightning?" And Barry's like, "Yeah, that's the short version of it." And so they start talking in just briefly, just a few sentences about how each of them got to be how they are.
It was exposition without feeling like exposition.
And it was two characters learning who the other one is, which is what it felt like. And
same thing with Arthur when he talks to Mira down underwater, talks about, they give you all the information without feeling like exposition.
Yeah.
You find out that his mom was the queen of Atlantis. His dad was a human. His mom left him with his dad, and he grew up with his dad. And that's all in this little scene that fits.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And I thought it was interesting that they had to create an air bubble in order to have a conversation.
Yes.
They have no means of actually talking to each other, communicating with each other in water.
Yes, which I thought was very well done. The lighting, the effects, it very much felt like they were just underwater in a dome.
Yeah.
And
I love that one. Also, he's like saying, if you don't get to the point, I'm going to leave. So he just puts his hand
and
into
the water kind
water.
of pours in a little bit. But again, bouncing back and forth. We get background on all the League. And then we get background on the villain. Because the villain just appears on Paradise Island. Themyscira, Wonder Woman's home, and takes the mother box and kills a whole bunch of Amazonians and gets away. So the Amazonians light the fire to warn Wonder Woman. They light the fire in Greece.
They're like, we need to light the warning fires, and they're like, no man will know what it means, and like no man will, but she will.
And so Wonder Woman gives the background on the villain, Steppenwolf.
Right.
And this is where they really throw in a lot of DC references. And they talk about the last time Steppenwolf tried to gain power.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And turn Earth into Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And they talk about the Atlanteans coming up and helping. They talk about the Amazonians helping.
Oh, the Atlanteans didn't have to come up at this point.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they didn't have to come up.
Yeah, Atlantis hadn't. They make I forget exactly what it is that they say, but they give the impression that Atlantis hadn't sunk yet whenever this happened. That's how long ago.
Yes, it was thousands of years. And then the lanterns are there.
Yeah.
The freaking Green Lantern Corps.
You see one get taken down, and then the ring just shoots off.
Yeah, the ring comes off his finger and shoots off. I don't even think they mention the lanterns.
No, they don't.
In this story, you just see a whole bunch of Green Lanterns charge the field. Their shields glow, or their lantern shields on their chests glowing, and it's like, oh, yes!
There's like Green Lanterns!
And the whole movie, I was hoping there was going to be some kind of, Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, somebody was going to show up. I wanted Abin Sur to show up, and then we see him get killed, and then the ring go off and find Hal. Some kind of reference.
You don't even have to see Hal. You just have to see the ring go off, and you're like, I know where that's going.
Exactly. We unfortunately didn't get that. There were rumors.
You need to verify. That is not a spoiler.
Yeah, that is not a spoiler.
That is daydreaming.
We didn't get that in the movie, but they did reference
the Green Lanterns.
And I swear, I think that big tall guy that was fighting on behalf of men, I think that was supposed to be Hercules.
Yeah.
Hercules
you mentioned that. Yeah,
is a DC character.
Is he really?
Yes.
Huh, I wasn't aware of that.
And so they do a lot of background information. Very well done. Nothing in this feels like needless exposition.
Right.
So they explain Steppenwolf is here. He's looking for the 3 mother boxes. There's one on Themyscira, one being guarded in Atlantis, and then the 3rd one we've already seen,
right.
The one from Batman vs. Superman that Victor's dad used to bring Victor back to life as Cyborg.
I forget, where did they say they found it?
They never specified. I don't think they did. I could be very wrong.
I could have sworn that they said that Victor's dad said something about where they found it.
Yeah, I mean, we might have to go back and watch that. But in the movie, they mentioned that the 3rd was going to be guarded by man, and they decided to bury it in secret so nobody would be tempted to use it.
Right, because they know that mankind is not trustworthy.
Exactly. So the whole point of this film, as one of my friends pointed out, as Justin pointed out, it's a villain trying to terraform Earth again.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is kind of a cliche go-to. Not going to deny it whatsoever. But it works here. And then it's Diana realizing it's time to put the League together.
Yeah.
And then she and Bruce get together and they get Barry. They go get Victor.
Well, they
Aquaman.
have to really entice Victor.
They have to entice Victor, and I'm so happy with the way they did it because Victor is patched into all computers. He's patched into the internet.
You got up and walked off for a minute, and
I meant to ask you what I missed when I hit the restroom.
When you did, it was Victor sitting in his dad's place, right? And you know how like every day he has a new upgrade, and he's like, "What the hell is this now?" He gets an upgrade. And like these things show up in his hands, like these like light beams coming off of his hands, which are like just information. And he realizes, what's this? And he puts his hands out, and just all this information starts going by, and he realizes that he has somehow tapped into the files in the Batcave.
Oh, so that's how he figures. Okay,
and so that's how he figures it out. Yeah,
and there's a scene where Wonder Woman and Batman, or Diana and Bruce, because they're just themselves, are walking around the grounds of Wayne Manor, and then it pans back and you see Victor from behind was watching them.
And at the time whenever you see Victor from behind, Bruce and Diana have just been talking about how Bruce is going to go find Barry and Diana's going to go and try and entice Victor to join them,
join the League.
And then it shows you Victor's watching them from the distance.
Exactly. And then Diana's on a computer in the Batcave
trying to locate
him, and Victor comes up on the screen.
And Victor doesn't come up on the screen.
Well, it's just lettering, and you realize quickly it's him speaking to her. And he says, how can I trust you? And this is where she pops off with, if I wanted to hurt you, I would have done it by the lake. And it's like, oh shit, she knew he was there. And
that's the thing. It makes you wonder, do you think Bruce knew he was there too?
Hell no.
No?
No, I don't think so. I think that it's just Diana is that much more in tune. She knows what's around her at all times.
Well, she's, she probably has like superior senses. She's got she's fast, she's strong, stuff like that. So she probably has superior senses as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's on par with Superman with many abilities.
To a degree.
And
she's not bulletproof.
No. Her gauntlets are.
Yeah.
And that's something that they do give her time to shine in the... It's not really a background scene. It's just showing what she's up to, where she will come out and be Wonder Woman occasionally.
Yeah.
But she keeps into the shadows.
You got the impression of that at the end of Wonder Woman, though.
Exactly, yeah. And this goes to continue that, where she saves hostages. But
I was happy that they did that, though, because I see this hostage situation going on. I'm sitting there going, but Superman's dead. Who shall save them?
Oh, of course, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, she's there, huh?
And so they're getting the League together, and they're trying to track down where all the mother boxes are. And it is a lot of big set pieces and a lot of big action pieces. And Batman has this new machine just out of nowhere that's basically like a robotic spider.
Yeah.
That is still pretty badass. It doesn't look hokey, but it's what he uses to get around tunnels and stuff like that, and then climb up the walls. And when they get the League together, they realize there's one piece of the puzzle left to get. Superman.
Yeah.
And
what it is that they realize that all the mother boxes started coming to life and sending out signals when Superman died.
Yes.
And so they're realizing that Superman being alive, just being alive,
is a deterrent.
Yeah, is a deterrent. Was keeping the Earth protected because other people were going, we can't face him.
Yes.
And so they're like, Bruce is like, we need Superman back.
Yeah. Even Steppenwolf, he refers to the mother boxes as
mother.
It's like he has a, maternal affection for these boxes. And
like the child's affection for a mother.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, that's his drive, is to get all these boxes. And they know that the Kryptonian's gone, so while the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah.
And there's very much a sense of regret on Bruce.
Oh, Bruce feels so guilty.
Yeah, and we knew that was going to happen. There's heavy guilt there. And so Bruce concocts the idea of using the mother box that they have, because they are able to get a mother box.
Well, because Victor's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they are able to save Victor's dad and get the mother box.
And because of Victor, they see how the mother box is able to basically bring someone who should be dead back to life.
Yeah, it does have regenerative capabilities. So they figure out a plan to go to the Kryptonian ship in Metropolis.
The same one that Lex used to create Doomsday.
Exactly. And this is where, what we referenced earlier, they grave rob Clark's grave in Smallville.
Yeah.
And that scene disturbed me. Just
With the grave robbing? Or
no, when they opened up the grave and then there's Clark there with the
You mean
picture
open
of
up the
his
coffin?
dad. Yeah,
Yeah.
they open up the casket and they pull him out. And,
You know, part of that actually upset me because when they put him into the amniotic fluid that's in there, and when I say the amniotic fluid, I mean, like, if you see Batman versus Superman, well, you know, I'm guessing you've seen it. When Lex puts Zod's body into that water, it's amniotic fluid.
yeah.
And so they're in that same spot, and they put Clark, I almost said Bruce, they put Clark into the amniotic fluid, and the picture of his dad that's in his hands drops out, and I'm sitting there going, someone save the picture. That one may not be digitized. She may not have scanned it. It could be the only copy. And I'm like, that's so sad. They lost the picture.
See, you're disturbed by the picture. I'm just disturbed by this image of this guy in his burial suit. And then I'm sitting there going, wait a second, he's wearing shoes. They wouldn't have buried him with shoes. And then, wait a second.
You say that every single time you see someone buried on a TV show or something.
But also, he was actually wearing pants. You know, he was physically wearing the pants. They weren't laid over him.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's just details that we know from other TV shows and stuff, the way that they prepare a body for burial.
I don't know that from other TV shows. What TV shows have you been watching?
Don't ask. But anyway, they put him in the amniotic fluid and
Yes.
they use the mother box and resurrect Superman, and he shoots off, goes to the Superman shrine from the Batman versus Superman, which was destroyed during the fight, and they just left it. They didn't do anything.
The giant pieces that were there, they were just left laying there.
Yeah, like Superman's head is still laying there. And Clark lands, and you can tell, and Aquaman warned them, when you die, you lose something. And he came back, and he was not all there.
Well, he said it could be his mind, it could be his soul.
Yeah.
And his words, Aquaman's words. You know, so, it could be his soul. He could come back an evil bastard.
Yeah, and they purposely kept Batman away. Because even Diana said, when he comes back, if you're the first person he sees, you're going to need a backup plan.
Yeah.
And they had a backup plan.
And he's like, I've got a backup plan.
Yeah, he says, I'm going to bring out the big guns. And when Superman comes back, he doesn't trust anybody. He's not all there.
The first people that he sees, only one of them he actually recognizes.
Yeah.
And that's Diana. And he only knew her, he only met her, twice?
Yeah.
Before dying?
And he sees a cyborg, and he sees somebody who is looking aggressive because he sees their pulmonary system and his heartbeat's going, and Aquaman is getting ready to defend himself because he knows something is not right. And then a beautiful fight breaks out.
Well, also keep in mind, Cyborg's systems go automatically into defense.
Yeah, so
and he's
Cyborg
like,
takes a shot at him.
And he's going, I can't control it. He's not doing it out of choice.
Yes. And a fight breaks out, and I was really hoping for this scene because at this point they've already shown Barry running around, using the Speed Force, doing what he can.
And he even had to do some seriously super speed in a short amount of time to power the mother box because the mother box didn't have enough energy left in it to bring Clark back.
Exactly. And before we get too far in, the effects for Barry at super speed,
really good.
I really liked it, and I'm glad they didn't try to mimic Quicksilver from the X-Men films.
Yeah.
Because that was amazing in and of itself. This was very Barry Allen for me.
Yeah.
And the lightning and everything about it fit.
Backtracking a little bit, a really cute moment with Barry. It shows, this is one reason why I love the character of Barry, is because he's just adorable. He's so adorable. The first time Barry sees the Batcave.
Yes. Just zooming around like a little kid.
Everyone else is just walking in, chatting, and he's like, oh, kid in a candy store. He zooms over here, and he zooms over here, and then every time you blink, you see him in a different area of the Batcave, just
including
enthralled.
the Batmobile. He jumps into the driver's seat of the Batmobile.
And he's got this look in his face like, I'm in the Batmobile, I'm in the Batmobile.
And so we've seen it already. We've seen how the effects work. Mm-hmm. And Aquaman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman charge Superman, and he's holding all three of them. And then Barry zooms in, and while he's running in, Clark just looks at him.
First, his eyes just move.
Yeah, his eyes just move.
And Barry's eyes go so wide.
And he has this look on his face like, uh-oh.
Well, because everything else that he's ever run around, it stays almost perfectly still while he's running because of how fast he's going. And the fact that Clark's eyes just move shows you how fast Clark is looking over.
Yes.
Shows you how fast Clark is moving at that time.
And then Clark drops everyone and proceeds to have a super speed fight with Barry Allen.
But Barry doesn't know how to fight, so he's like dodging with this like panicked look on his face.
And that's another thing, because this is like Flash year one, he's clumsy. Mm-hmm. He even admits, I don't fight. I run in, I push people, I run away.
He trips.
He trips over things. And it's really seeing the quick evolution, no pun intended, of Barry Allen to the Flash that people want to see on the big screen. And I just thought it worked. A lot of people are complaining that Barry Allen's kind of a goof in this. Mm-hmm. And I think they needed a goof. They needed a more comedic role.
Well, also, just keep in mind, he's still just a kid.
Very much so. He's a young superhero in this.
And when I say kid, I don't mean like
he's not
Spider-Man. He's not Peter Parker. He's like, did you say Peter Piper?
Peter Piker.
He's not like 15 like Peter Parker is. He's trying to get into school to become a CSI. So he's probably like 19, 20.
I would say early 20s.
But very early 20s.
But they are people are already again complaining, DC's just doing what Marvel's doing. You've got Bruce Wayne talking to a young hero in a car, just like Tony Stark did to Peter Parker in Spider-Man Homecoming. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Batman mentoring a young hero in a car? Why haven't we ever seen this before, you freaking idiots? I'm sorry. I am so irritated with just the absolute ignorant bullshit that people are criticizing this movie over.
Because Batman has never criticized. Batman has never mentored a young up-and-coming hero before.
Exactly. This is not his first rodeo.
Yeah, like there's no Nightwing out there showing his mentoring skills.
I know. We haven't already seen the Robin suit of Jason Todd.
Right.
For crying out loud, people. Criticize the movie for legitimate concerns, not just perceived crap. But
or just because you have a bias or something.
Exactly.
Give it a fair chance.
So then back to this fight.
Right.
And we knew
we
knew this was gonna happen. Batman shows up.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight.
Oh my gosh.
And Clark pulls out the...
It's not even really a fight. It's more just,
It's intimidation.
It is so intimidation because, Bruce is up against Clark with no kryptonite. Yeah. He has nothing with him.
His whole point is just to talk to him, not fight him.
Right, exactly.
But Superman is very much acting on instinct.
Well, first thing he ever says to him, you won't let me live, you won't let me die.
Yes.
is like he has a perfect memory of everything that's
Yes.
happened. It's not just a what happened to me thing. He knows he was dead.
Yeah, he has a full recollection, and such a full recollection that he looks at Batman and says, "Tell me, do you bleed?" It's like, oh
and
shit.
the way he says it too, it was deep and just
He
angry
gave a
and
better delivery
yeah.
of that line than Batman did in Batman versus Superman. And then that's when they bring out the big guns. Lois shows up and, Clark, is that you? And then he just drops Batman. And then Clark
he
and
just
Lois
goes over and hugs her.
And it's such a sweet moment.
The way you see his face change, going from just angry and
he goes from pissed off God to
it's the woman I love.
Exactly.
It's Lois.
And then a perfect Whedon line. Nobody can convince me this was not a Whedon line. They leave, they fly away, and then it goes to Batman laying on the ground. Batman gets up and goes, "Yeah, something's definitely bleeding."
He doesn't even get up. What are you talking about?
Laying
He's just
there,
laying
got his
there.
ass beat.
And he rolls over, I think, and tries to grab his leg, but he can't even get up. But yeah, it was great.
And so they go. They finally figure out where Steppenwolf is going to be, and it's in a small town that's being built up after a nuclear meltdown.
Like 30 years prior.
Yeah, 30 years prior. And Cyborg lays it out for everybody that they're going to be somewhere away from humanity, knowing that Cyborg is tapped in to Wi-Fi and to the internet. So they've got to be somewhere where the League
It's off
cannot
the grid.
detect them.
Yeah.
So they are getting ready to go. And they're just hoping that Superman will get his shit together and show up.
Well, at this point, I don't even think they're hoping that. They're thinking Superman's just gone. They don't have him on their side right now.
They don't even know what happened to him, where he went.
When
He's
he took
just
Lois and flew off.
Exactly. And so they're getting into a jet and flying off while Clark and Lois go back to the farm.
Clark is dealing with his shit at this time.
And they go back to the farm, which we, at this point, already know has been foreclosed by the bank.
Yeah.
Ma Kent has moved away. And they're just... that is one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it's sweet.
Yeah. You see there's this wonderful relationship between Martha Kent and Lois, where Martha actually refers to herself as Lois's mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And just...
Lois is still wearing the ring and...
Yeah. And you find out that Lois has not been handling Clark's death very well. She's finally back at work, but she's not taking on anything hard-hitting. She's just doing little fluff pieces.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And she even tells Clark that. She says to him, "I wasn't strong." You know, and he goes to her and he just holds her because he sees that she's just been hurting.
Yeah. And then he's hugging her and then he just smiles because he hears the truck. And he goes, "You called Mom?" And it's like, yes!
And that's another thing that I like. He doesn't say "you called my mom," just "you called Mom."
Yeah.
You know?
And then I was hoping for that scene because I like Diane Lane as Martha Kent.
Yeah, me too.
And she comes running up and it's a sweet scene that really needed to be done.
Yeah.
With all the complaints of darkness in these films.
And Lois during this point tells him, "You have to go help them."
Yeah.
Because Bruce was very adamant that they need you.
Yeah, that this is world-ending stuff.
And this is why they brought you back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so while you get the impression Clark's back, he's back to what they need him to be.
Right.
They're flying off to Russia for this final showdown. They're on this big jet. They're getting all the explanation from Cyborg on how they're going to finish this.
Yeah.
And then this beautiful scene with Aquaman. Just, I think we're going to die. And then he's sitting on the Batmobile.
He's looking at everybody in turn and like analyzing them. "You're just a kid. You don't have any powers," looking at Bruce.
Yeah.
And he looks over at Wonder Woman, and you're hot.
Yeah.
You're gorgeous.
Yeah, my people and your people used to fight, but that was a long time ago. And
this is before I was even born.
And I really don't want to die. I like living. And he's like pouring his heart out.
And you're going, what the hell is going on?
And then Batman just goes, and points to him. And like you pointed out, it's very much a your flies open
type of movement. I thought he was about to zip something.
And then Aquaman looks down and realizes he's been sitting on the lasso of truth the whole time and was compelled to spill his guts.
So
and
he pulls it out and he tosses it over to Wonder Woman.
And it's one of several scenes that really drives home the point that Jason Momoa was a great pick for Aquaman. Because Aquaman is the hero on the Justice League that always gets crapped on.
Yeah.
He just talks to fish. And, they even make that joke in the movie.
Yeah.
And then look at Big Bang Theory when they all dressed up as the Justice League and then Raj is...
Nobody wants to be Aquaman.
Yeah, nobody wants to be Aquaman. Raj is Aquaman walking, he walks in and he's riding a seahorse. And that was out of like Super Friends where he'd ride a seahorse. And, for years, Aquaman was always the butt of the jokes. And here, Aquaman is a badass.
Oh, yeah.
And he can fight as well as anybody else.
I loved moments in the fights where you'd see him get excited and he'd be like, yeah!
Yeah, and he is just jazzed up. And the fights when they get to Russia...
Yeah.
It was just very action-packed. It is a CGI fest.
Yeah.
No way around it. But it had to be.
One thing that I love that I was noticing, you see how his abilities in water allow him to move on land. Because he has this ability to flip and move himself around. Mm-hmm. That at one point he's falling. He's been up in the air because those things have wings and have been flying and grab him and take him and move him.
The parademons.
The parademons, yes. And so he's been falling and Cyborg catches him and he's just like, my man.
Flight's not over yet. And then he just throws him and it's...
Yeah, and he just throws him and he ends up spearing, and he throws the trident at another parademon, and then I think that's when Cyborg throws him towards that parademon, and he gets on it, he like lands foot first on it, pulls the trident out, and like air surfs.
Yeah, he air surfs on the parademon all the way down, gets down and just flips his hair up. And it's just like...
And it's like he was actually surfing. He just like flips his hair like he just got off a surfboard or something.
It was like, there's the joke in Deadpool about the superhero landing. Mm-hmm. It's not that. He just, it's like he just glided in on the surfboard and gets off on the beach and flips the hair back and
walks
off. Kind of thing.
He doesn't need to do the superhero landing to look cool. He knows he looks cool.
Exactly. And every part of this fight was just intense. Mm-hmm. It wasn't too much. I felt like with, the comparisons are going to be made, the Avengers films.
Right. So why not make him here just to get,
get
it out of the way?
Exactly. Get it out of the way. I felt like because of the grand scale of the fights in the two Avengers films, it got to be a little too much. I felt like this was very good. It was very spot on in terms of the amount. It was what it needed to be.
Wasn't too little, wasn't too much.
Exactly. Wonder Woman shined. Wonder Woman got to do her thing. Everybody got to do their thing throughout this fight. Batman, what you find out is he's viewing this as a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And he tells them, you go do this, I'm doing this. And Diana is the leader at this point. And
he's trying to also force her into a leading position.
Yeah, she doesn't want it, but he knows that she needs to be the leader.
Yeah.
And then what you find out is that her first order as leader, everyone go save Batman.
Yeah.
And Aquaman even calls him on it and says, if it was up to the rest of us, we would have just let you die, but she didn't give us a vote. And it's the whole idea of, no, you've got to work together as a team. And when they do work together as a team, Oh God, it was so great. It was just right off the pages of the comic book. And I felt like when they finally fought Steppenwolf, like fist to fist fight, it worked so well. And then Superman shows up.
Yeah.
And for the people that complained that his suit was too dark, you got your wish here. They lightened the suit.
They did. Yeah,
it's
they
a
did
bright blue and a bright red. It's still the same Man of Steel suit.
Right.
But you got your color scheme that you wanted.
Yeah.
And I feel like you really got the Superman that you've wanted.
Well, they definitely lightened him up. He made more jokes. You saw him like straight up laughing.
Yeah,
at points.
At the end of the fight,
yeah,
he and Cyborg are laughing because they get to the point where they've defeated Steppenwolf.
Now they've got to separate the mother boxes.
They've got to separate the mother boxes into 3. And Clark says, "Is there going to be a blowback?" And he goes, "Yeah, but I think we can take it. I hope so, because I like living."
He's like, "I like being alive." And then Cyborg is like, "Yeah, so do I."
Which is very telling because
Cyborg wanted to be dead.
Yes, Cyborg was pissed for most of the film about being alive.
Well, yeah, because he's like, he's telling his dad at the beginning of the movie, he's telling his dad, "You should have just left me dead because I'm not your son anymore. I'm not Victor anymore. Every day I'm something different. Every day he gets a new upgrade." And to show to his dad what he means, he puts on the boosters and starts hovering, and his dad's like, "Whoa." And he's like, "See, I couldn't do that last night."
Yeah.
And so
he even asks his dad, "Your coworkers at Star Labs,
do they know that I'm alive?"
Know that I'm alive? And he says no. And Victor says, "So you don't want them to see the monster yet?" "Son, you're not a monster." "Huh, funny. I never said I was the monster."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, damn, yeah, this is a pissed off kid kind of thing.
Yeah, and his dad's telling him, "I lost your mother in that accident. I couldn't lose you too." But he's just like, "This isn't me anymore. I'm not alive. I am something else now."
And now by the end of it, he's happy to be alive. He's palling around with Flash because Flash kept trying to do a fist bump with him, and he wouldn't do it. And at the end, they're looking over everything and they fist bump each other.
I missed that.
Yeah,
part.
It's when they had all 6 of them just standing there.
Oh, really?
Superhero poses. You look over and they fist bump.
See, my eye always goes to Superman's cape fluttering.
Yeah, and I get that. And I was actually watching. I'm like, are they gonna? They fist bump? Yes, just little stuff.
It's like I was telling you earlier when we were watching Man of Steel before going. Is I love the way they get his cape to flutter with CG. And
in a completely unnatural way.
Yeah, it's so nice and so pretty. And I'm like, physics does not allow for that. That's not right.
And so, they've defeated Steppenwolf. They are the League. And we very much get the montage of everybody getting into their places that we as comic book fans know them to be. Barry Allen tells his dad that he's got a job with Central City Police as a CSI. We see Victor, who I think I wish I remembered the actor's name. It's like Ray Stone or something like that. I thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah,
I
enjoyed
loved
him.
the character of Cyborg. The voice and the attitude was spot on for what I felt Cyborg should be.
Ray Fisher.
Okay, thank you.
Fisher. You got the Ray part right.
And, Victor Stone. That's where I was screwing it up. But he was spot on. Jason Momoa was great. And so we see Cyborg working with his dad in Star Labs, and then he upgrades his armor to look exactly like he does in the comics, and even has the cyborg symbol on his chest.
And then with here we talked about how Bruce is trying to get Diana to take a more leadership role. The entire time the whole movie he's pointing out to her that
she remains in the shadows as much as he does.
Well, and she's telling him at one point, "Get over Clark's death. You made a mistake. Get past it." And he is like, and this was the insult. It's like, what? Like, you got over Steve?
It's like, oh damn.
You know,
No, I shouldn't have said that, dude.
like you've moved on from what happened with Steve. And that's when she gets pissed and everything. And he's like, you've been hiding in the shadows for 100 years. It's time to come out. And, you know, to take a more leadership role. Because that's one thing they were talking about was how how Superman was this beacon of hope. And that with him gone, there was nobody for them to look to because all these other superheroes are there, but they're staying in the shadows. And so now this is a call for all of them to come out of the shadows. I almost said to come out of the shower.
That was a deleted scene. The sexual tension between Wonder Woman and Batman in this movie was thick.
But this is their call to come out of the shadows and show that they're there, show that that the people have more than just Superman, have had more than just Superman.
Well, he even
them.
tells Wonder Woman that she helps people see the best in themselves, like Superman did.
Yeah.
So she needs to be out there. And at the end, she is, where they show her breaking up a
bank robbery,
a museum heist, because she's looking at the pieces.
That's right.
And she's got the lasso of truth around the guys, and he's just like, yes, we are doing this for this guy, and he's also done this, and this. And then she's like, coming, you know, like kids are coming up to her and she's like, hi, and like almost signing autographs and stuff. It was very Linda Carter-ish. I almost got like, you know, 70s Wonder Woman vibe about the way she was all smiles.
Well, they were trying to take this back a peg to more classic stuff.
Very much.
Like you hear rehashes of the classic music. Between the fight between Clark and Flash, whenever what we were talking about earlier, whenever you see Clark's eyes move,
not all there,
where Clark's not all there and everything, you hear for just a split second the
John Williams theme,
the John Williams theme from the Richard Donner,
the Christopher Reeve films.
The Christopher Reeve films, and then during the big battle against Steppenwolf at the end, you hear Danny Elfman.
Yeah, the 89 Batman. Well, they even used that earlier when they go to Gotham and talk to Commissioner Gordon.
Oh, did they?
Played by J.K. Simmons, who I thought was... I'm looking forward to seeing him more as Commissioner Gordon. And it's when he turns on the bat signal and looks up and there's Batman and they all come down.
Oh, I didn't hear it then.
There's the Danny Elfman theme because... Danny Elfman is the composer for this. And Danny Elfman has actually said, and I think this is a quote, that it's bullshit that future or further Batman and Superman films didn't use the iconic themes.
Yeah.
They use the themes in this where they need to kind of...
And they're not blatant. You can definitely hear them, but they're like woven into the new sound.
Yes, and they're so clearly used that they're actually credited in the credits.
Yeah.
The John Williams theme and the 89 Batman theme are specifically listed under the soundtrack.
I just realized that we didn't actually talk about how Cyborg and Superman were just laughing, like what they were laughing about. We were talking about how they... Yes. Yeah, we started talking about it and then we got off track.
Oh, sorry.
So they're he says, you know, is this gonna
have a blowback?
And he's like, but I think we can handle it. Good, because I kind of like being alive, stuff like that. So Cyborg has got like these extensions in the mother box to put them off a bit from sinking, so that they don't start the terraforming.
So
they can separate them, and they don't start terraforming. So as they start to separate, Superman puts his hands between them and starts pulling them apart. And then they get the blowback and they get blown back. And they're lying there. And at first you're sitting there going, okay, they're not moving for a second. And Bruce gets worried.
Yeah.
Bruce comes up and goes, Clark. Like, he's worried that Clark just died again. I just killed him again. Oh, no. And then you see them both start to move. Their legs start to come up and their knees are bending. And then Clark goes, oh, I kind of wish I was dead again, or something like that.
I was wrong.
I
wish I was dead.
Yeah. And then Cyborg is like, oh, me too. And they both just start laughing.
Well, because
hysterically.
Cyborg goes, my toes hurt.
Oh, that's right.
How is that even physically possible? And it looks down at his feet. He's got robotic feet. And he goes, how is that even physically possible? My toes hurt.
And then that's when Superman just starts cracking up and just starts laughing hysterically. And then so does Cyborg. And the others just kind of give they're, you can definitely tell that they're entertained, entertained giggles. Oh, they're laughing.
Yeah.
because,
Levity after the fight.
Exactly. And it's just seeing that moment. And then also they have, they lighten it up a bit. And this is, what we were talking about a minute ago about how they brought it back a notch by adding in the music. They add in the levity. Superman tells corny jokes.
Yes.
Which the reason why I didn't like it is because it's not established in this set so far. Until this point, it wasn't established.
It was fan appeasement.
It was fan appeasement. Now, if he had been doing it from Man of Steel, that'd be one thing. I'd be fine with it. But I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't think it fit. It was a very sudden change. Now, I guess we could put it off to he's back from the dead. This is maybe something that's changed in him a bit.
Yeah.
We could probably put it off to that.
He's just very happy to be back, something.
He's hugging with Lois. He got to hug his mom. He's standing in the fields that he grew up in. So yeah, there's like you said, levity. There's levity there. He's able to make these jokes because he's appreciating the fact that he's alive. Yeah.
And they really drive home the super, this is going to be the Superman you've wanted to see, because they show Batman, Wonder Woman, and Alfred walking through Wayne Manor, which is still in ruins.
Yeah.
After whatever the hell happened. Bruce Wayne's been living in a penthouse off on the grounds.
Right.
And he mentions, we're going to have a table here with 6 chairs. And then Diana reminds him with room for more. Mm-hmm. And then they go to Clark walking the streets of Metropolis in the suit with Lois doing a voiceover. And she says, and when you look up in the sky. Mm-hmm. And then he takes off the glasses.
He does the classic.
And tears open his shirt. This is like,
he walks down an alley and then does that and then flies off.
Which,
Superman's back.
My question is, again, how are they going to explain Clark being back from the dead?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's when the credits roll, and we already knew going into this because of something that Jason Momoa tweeted out. There were 2 post-credit scenes. Mm-hmm. And I had heard that the first scene was going to feel like it came right off the pages of the comic book.
Yeah.
Which it did. And it's never specified where, but you get the impression it's down the street from the Kent farm. And it's Superman and Flash. And this is very much a post reshoot by Joss Whedon, because Henry Cavill's got the CGI lip.
Yeah.
And it's Superman and Flash about to have a race. And it is it's a fun scene. It's funny because
it's a post-credit scene, so it's real short.
It's real short, but it's Clark busting Flash's balls.
Yes.
And he goes, so when I win, you're out of the team, right? What? Just kidding. But,
no, he doesn't do that. He just smiles at him.
Oh, yeah, just smiles. And it says, Bruce said that if I win, you have to take us all out to brunch. Oh, that was a violation. No, that was trust there, and he just violated that.
Barry is legitimately hurt that he did that.
Yeah, that Clark, or that Bruce would tell everyone about
the brunch thing.
Barry doesn't understand brunch. And then they bolt off, and it really does look like a frame out of, Superman flying and Barry running.
I loved how they didn't just do ready, set, go, that Barry puts energy between his fingers.
And lights a firecracker.
Lights a firecracker with it. I like that. That was nice.
But the whole thing is that they're in Middle America, mm-hmm. and they're like, all right, so which coast do you want to race to? Barry's like, I've never seen the Pacific coast.
And he points in one direction.
He goes, so that way? And Clark's, no, that way.
That way. And Barry starts going, oh yeah, because it's west and the sun's over there. You find out that Barry has no sense of navigation, because during the fight against Steppenwolf, Bruce is telling him,
go save people to the east.
Go save people to the east. And he starts running. He's like, I hope this is east.
So that was the first post-credits scene. And then at the end, we had heard that the Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor scenes had been cut. I don't know if this was one of those scenes, but Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor shows up. And it's in the prison that we see him last in Batman vs. Superman, and a guard's coming to get him, and the guy turns around, and it's not him.
Yeah.
And then we just see this speedboat in like a lake or some river going up to a yacht, and from the shadow I was elbowing you going, it's Deathstroke, it's Deathstroke, it's Deathstroke, because I could see
the swords
and I'm
sitting there going, those swords look familiar. I'm like, it's not Deadpool. I'm sitting there going, who in DC is like Deadpool? And it just, I know it, but it's just not clicking.
And it is Deathstroke, the Terminator,
Mm-hmm.
climbing up onto this yacht, and there's Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. And for the first time, we actually see him be Lex Luthor. He's not maniacal like Batman versus Superman. He's not strange. He's very calm and very straightforward. Mm-hmm. And he tells them, hey, we're here celebrating. God's back. And they're forming this league. Shouldn't we have a league of our own? And it's like, oh, they're starting the Legion of Doom. And Joe Magnoli, whatever the hell his name is from Magic Mike, takes off his helmet, and it's Deathstroke the Terminator with the eye patch, and they aged him up and gave him gray. And that's the second post-credit scene, which I was disappointed in because I was really hoping we were going to get a Green Lantern scene.
Yeah.
But we've got to get that in an upcoming film.
There's one part that we skipped over. It's minor.
Okay, go ahead.
But it's cute. Okay. At the very end, Ma Kent is moving back onto the farm.
Yes.
Okay.
Which you kind of expected would happen.
You can't have them not have the Kent farm.
Yeah.
You know, so it's seeing it in danger. So they're going, oh no, the farm. But anyway, so you see Ma Kent, you see Martha, and you see Lois carrying a few little knickknacks into the house and everything, and they're looking back over their shoulder where they see Clark and Bruce just standing there chatting, and Clark looks over at Bruce and says, so how did you do it? How did you he's thanking him so much. He's like, thank you so much for doing this.
How'd you get the farm from the bank?
Back from the bank? And then Bruce goes, I bought the bank. And I don't know if you caught it, but Clark is going, why would you buy the whole bank? And Bruce is like, it's a habit. Like it's a habit just to buy a business when you want to get your way out of it.
And that's something that we have seen in the movies before, where in the Christopher Nolan films, when Bruce
bought the restaurant,
he bought the hotel or the restaurant or whatever it was, because
there was that water section.
Yeah, they wouldn't let his friends get into this little decorative pool. Even in Gotham, where young Bruce Wayne's trying to get into this party in this club, and they won't let him in, so he goes in and buys the club. So very, very accurate representation.
But the fact that he just goes, it's a habit.
Yeah.
It's a really that's an interesting habit to have gotten.
Well, what's funny is earlier when he's trying to recruit Arthur, and he says, I'll give $25,000 to anybody that tells me this. I'm sitting there thinking, you cheap bastard. You're Bruce Wayne. That should be $500,000. But all in all, I could not have been happier with this film. Yeah, I'm complaining that there wasn't a Green Lantern cameo. I mean, there were lanterns, but not Hal or John Stewart or Kilowog or any notable lantern. But all in all, I enjoyed this film. I don't think it is remotely deserving of any of the negativity that the past films have gotten or what this is getting right now. 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. Kiss my ass. That is not deserving of that kind of rating.
Yeah.
But I did want to, before we wrap up, ask you what you thought about some points of controversy.
Okay.
And one thing that has been getting around lately is the change in Amazonians, where in Wonder Woman they were all armored.
Yeah.
And in this one, we got some set photos recently of several of the Amazonians wearing midriffs, exposing their stomachs. And people are like, oh, they're sexualizing Amazonians. We need to boycott this movie because they're just sexualizing women. What did you think about the change?
I only found out about that a few days ago. So I didn't see or hear anything about it. I saw one comment where someone said, I guess you didn't read the article that says that a lot of them were actually felt empowered by the outfit. Like the women actually portraying this didn't have a problem with it.
And they could actually move better.
But I was watching it. I was watching for those outfits. And really, a lot of them, they still had the long, the full body ones on. Mm-hmm. And the ones who were wearing the midriffs, oftentimes they had cloaks or scarvings or, some sort of a covering attire over it as well. To where I didn't even really notice it most of the time. It was like that shot that people are talking about that's apparently so offensive was just a promotional shot where they said, hey, ladies, come over here for a second. And
it was a picture they took for Instagram.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. And, some of them are even, some of the actresses were even taking pictures in their costumes as selfies and going, oh my gosh, I love this costume, and posting that on Instagram. And so I get the impression that that's a lot of what people saw by way of the costumes was just, the group photos that were being just taken for fun's sake. That it wasn't the full picture of what the costumes were going to be. But really, when watching the movie, and also there's so much going on in the movie, in that scene with them trying to keep the mother box away from Steppenwolf, that I didn't even pay any attention to it, really.
It's not noticeable, but when it is, I felt like the revealing of their skin had a purpose.
Really?
Because there's two women that you truly notice wearing the midriff outfits.
Okay.
And they are guards.
Oh, really?
In the cave. And when the queen is riding out saying, lower the doors, these are the two that are holding the wall up to let the queen escape. And they are ripped. It is... To me, all it was to show the power, the physical representation of power of the Amazonians.
Right.
Because you have these two CrossFit-looking women holding up this wall, just every muscle flexed. So it's just a brief thing. It's not like they pull the Zack Snyder slow-mo and, let's show every glistening muscle or anything like that. It's not sexualized in any way, shape, or form.
There was nothing sexualized about the Amazonians.
And it was just to show a physical representation of power.
Right.
And you see the muscles. That is it. Sexualizing in this film, the most sexualized moment in this film was Aquaman going into the water, taking off his coat. I swear I heard women in that theater. Oh... And yeah, I fully get it. It's like, yeah, he's walking muscles. Henry Cavill is walking muscles. He's walking around without a shirt.
I was gonna say you could say that for at least a little bit of that scene when he's first come back is also a bit of that sexualization, because when they put him into the amniotic fluid, he's got that full suit on, and then all of a sudden his pants are in perfect condition except for some fraying at the bottom, but his shirt and his suit jacket and his tie, everything else is completely gone.
Yeah. They've got to show Henry Cavill, the hairy chest, the chest that's bigger than any woman in that film. And I'm sitting here thinking, people are, again, this is just the perfect representation of people on the internet getting pissed off and complaining about something that they don't understand.
Well, I get the impression that a lot of people just want to be pissed off about something these days.
Especially DC movies.
Yeah.
There's no way DC is going to win.
Well, because everything is, oh, well, if they just did it the way Marvel did it, then they would have had a winning formula. And then they do it that way. Oh, they're just doing it that way because Marvel did it that way.
It's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
They're going to be compared to Marvel because, Marvel got the winning formula. Marvel figured it out, and they hit a home run.
Right.
DC is doing a damn good job.
Yeah.
But people are just reveling in failure. And I don't think they've failed. Critics and box office will disagree because this opening weekend for Justice League underperformed.
Did it?
It did worse than Wonder Woman did. Batman versus Superman was a huge opening weekend, one of the top of all time. This isn't matching that. Even our theater, we saw it a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Opening weekend wasn't full.
There were quite a few people there. It was
pretty
packed,
full,
yeah.
but it was not sold out.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind that also was a Sunday morning at like 11:15
Yeah,
when
true,
it started.
yeah.
A lot of people going to church. So,
But it's underperforming. I think people are just, they've got it out for DC in one way, shape, or form. We even have friends that like complaining about DC films.
Yeah.
And I get some of their complaints when they start complaining about that's not the Joker I wanted to see. That's not the Superman I wanted to see. Well, you got 70 plus years of iterations to choose from. Which one would you like to see?
yeah.
But all in all, if I had to give this a rating out of 10, honestly, 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I loved it. This has surpassed every other DC movie since Man of Steel. And honestly, on pure enjoyment, it's a top 3 for me.
Yeah.
I would put this up there with The Dark Knight and the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2.
Yeah. I love that cut.
What were your final thoughts on it? What would you rate it, and how would you put it in the grand scheme of DC films?
Oh gosh, the grand scheme of DC films. Well, first off, my rating, I'm going to give it an 8, just because I still prefer Man of Steel. Okay, and I cannot get over that CG lip.
I really want there to be a special feature on the Blu-ray where we get those scenes uncensored. I want to see Henry Cavill Superman with the Mario mustache. I want the Super Mario Brothers mustache on Superman's face because it's going to look weird.
I hope that there's a blooper where, like in the field or something like that, when they're supposed to be serious, Clark's just come back and Lois is like, "You're alive," and then Amy Adams just starts laughing and giggling and saying, "I'm sorry, with that mustache, I just can't take you seriously."
It's a me, a Superman.
Sorry, that one tipped my tickle box a little bit, but just 'cause I can't get over that CG lip, because I've got this issue about mouths, and I've had nightmares about mouths before. And there's a scene again in the field whenever he's like, "Oh, you called Mom," and she's like, "Well, yeah, we kind of need to get a move on, whatever." And he smiles. I don't know if it was the CG, but it made his smile look exceptionally long.
Yeah, it was.
Did you see it?
It was a little weird, yeah.
And that about scared the crap out of me. Like, I started to actually get scared of Henry Cavill's mouth. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have nightmares about Henry Cavill's mouth because of CG problems. But so yeah, just the CG of the mouth makes me bring it down a peg. But other than that, yeah, I highly enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed Ezra Miller as the Flash. I definitely enjoyed Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I was worried of them finding the right person to play her. But after seeing her in Batman versus Superman, how she's able to do this beautiful elegance, and she has this beautiful sway when she walks. So she comes off as being intimidating, but in a gosh, you're gorgeous, I wish I could be like you type of way, but not in a physically imposing way.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's a great disguise. It's an excellent disguise. And then you see her kick ass, and you realize that she is intimidating and imposing in a completely different fashion. She's got that ability to go from one to the other.
And because of Gal Gadot's experience in the army,
right,
there's no break between her being the physically beautiful and imposing figure that Wonder Woman is supposed to be, and then moving into the ass-kicking mode that Wonder Woman has. There's no break between the two where you're like, oh, that's just a stunt woman. It's like, oh no, that is her. That is Gal Gadot kicking some ass.
Right. Yeah.
And she was pregnant during this, so I'm definitely.
She was pregnant during this one too.
She was pregnant. No, okay, I think it was
Wonder Woman.
One of these she was pregnant during, where they had to CG her stomach out, where she wore a special suit, a special Wonder Woman outfit with the stomach cut out and her stomach covered in green, so they could CG it out in post.
I'm pretty sure that was Wonder Woman.
I thought it was this, but I could be mistaken.
No, because when we were watching Wonder Woman shortly after it came out, we were trying to figure out.
That's right. You're right. I'm sorry. Okay.
And I mean shortly after it came out on Blu-ray, and we were watching it at home.
Okay,
we
you are right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I was gonna say she was pregnant again.
It's like, damn, woman, you know how this happens, right?
not that 2 children is a lot or anything.
Just back to back.
Back to back. So,
but overall, again, I will say that if you didn't like the previous films, you're
not going to like this one. You're not going to like this. You're going to find something to complain about.
Yeah, exactly. But I still say give it a chance.
Yeah. Stop comparing it to Marvel. Stop looking at all the, well, this is what I wanted to see, and just watch it for what it is. Watch the artistry. Watch the story. Watch the acting and the way that the characters come together. And sorry, the song that they use.
Yeah, they use a cover of the Beatles come together. Very well done.
But watch the chemistry and the way the characters interact, because they interact really well. Like that scene after Aquaman's been sitting on the lasso, he walks up to Barry and he's like, if you ever say anything about this to anyone, he threatens him, and then he walks off, and then Barry is like, honestly, I stopped listening after we're all gonna die.
Yeah. And he said no idea.
And no clue what just happened. And they all worked so well together. And one thing that I love about the fact that they work so well together is because these are actors who come from different eras of acting and different styles of acting. I mean, Ezra Miller is a relatively new actor. He's been doing stuff for several years now, but he doesn't have nearly the resume of like Ben Affleck.
No, the big things he's known for are the DC films and the new Harry Potter films, the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Yeah. And he was in the first few seasons for a few episodes of Royal Pains.
Yeah.
As a kid who has what's that disease where you bleed very easily?
Hemophilia.
Yeah, so he had hemophilia and almost died several times because of it.
So this is his breakout.
This is really his breakout. And again, it shows you how good he is, because look at his character in Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, he's completely different.
Yeah, he's very dark, very quiet, and just really weird kid in that movie. And then you see him constantly smiling, a hyperactive kid in a candy store look on his face, and it's just a completely different character. And you see that he's really got some chops, and he's really coming into his own. And then to have the likes of like Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons.
Oh yes, Jeremy Irons as Alfred
is just wonderful.
My favorite Alfred so far is Pertwee from Gotham.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
this is a very close second.
Well, yeah, because both of them are the Alfred that you could see guarding the Batcave with a shotgun.
Exactly.
Which is what is in the comics, what Alfred is in the comics. And that's something that, it's not the 60s Alfred. It's not the Keaton Alfred or anything like that.
It's not Michael Goff, who's just a sweet old man.
Yeah.
Alfred. But I think the best rating scale, because we've never agreed on a rating scale. We've never even talked about a rating scale. We just give a 1 out of 10. But for us as movie buffs, the best recommendation we can give is if we would buy this on Blu-ray the day it comes out.
Yeah.
And for me, this is a day one buy.
Yeah.
When this comes out, it is being added to the collection. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm going to say that this is a day one buy because I want to be able to watch it again. I want to be able to see it. And that's the thing, whenever you watch it again, you always notice new things, especially something that is as artistically done as this is. And then also I love seeing the behind the scenes stuff. Maddie, our oldest, she loves to watch the behind the scenes stuff of this type of thing. And watching the blooper reels and just all the different things that go into the special features. And
it's going to be interesting to see if fans get their way, because now there's a petition going to have the Blu-ray include Zack Snyder's original cut before Joss Whedon came in. So it'd be interesting to see the difference between the two.
Right.
But I definitely want to see this again, and I can't wait to see it. So again, if you didn't like the previous films, like Lindsay said, you're going to find something to complain about. Still go see it. If you enjoyed any of the previous DC films, you're going to love this. So go check out Justice League. I can't wait to see it again, but I think the next film we're going to be seeing in theaters is Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I've gotten Justice League out of my system.
Now you can get excited.
Time to get excited about Star Wars. But so that's going to do it for today. So we definitely... we're going to have more movie reviews coming up. We're going to get the team back together for Phoenix Ghostbusters. We're going to get them back in the house. Try to re-record our Star Trek episode that the audio went to crap on. We're going to talk about Star Wars coming up, and we've got a lot of great things. So stay tuned. Every couple weeks, we're going to have a new episode out.
Later, Gators.